So I had about 4 hours of cloud, and now the clouds have gone away and there's sun. I caught a fish. There are some doozies of waves though that are just knocking Gek right over on her little rail. And hark, the patch of blue sky. I'm all cleared out of Vanuatu and heading to the Solomons. It's about a 200-mile sail, so 2 days, pretty strong wind and big seas. Right now I have a full main, but I'm starting to question it because these gusts are pretty gnarly. And the working jib is all set up to go on the deck, but I'm not really gonna know what the conditions are like until I get out there. Alright, I'm wing and wing going downwind at about 5 to 6 knots. That was so intense. Put up a full main and it should have had 2 reefs in it, but I couldn't know that because the forecast said 18 to 20. My engine doesn't like to run if the boat is heeled over. So it got to the point where I couldn't leave the helm to reef the main because I couldn't have the engine on its side. And if I left the helm, I couldn't be pinching with it. I was really overpowered, but if I turned off the engine, then I was gonna drift down onto one of the 2 edges of the bay, which have breaking waves and sharp pointy rocks on them. So I couldn't reef the main until I was far enough out of the bay that I could turn off the engine, put the wind vane on. Once I reef the main with the wind vane on, I can't maintain a course because the sail is down and luffing and not tight, so I come off the wind pretty hard. So I needed room to be able to come off the wind while I was reefing the main. I couldn't put the head sail up because I was overpowered with the main, and so I had to pinch into gusts from every direction and then into these huge 2.5 meter breaking seas until I finally got out far enough. And these seas were knocking me over, breaking into the cockpit, pushing me backwards. I was going less than 2 knots until I finally got out far enough that I could put the wind vane on. Once the wind vane was on, I wasn't pinching anymore, so I was really overpowered. And then as I was reefing the main, I was turning and going down onto the rocks. When I get into situations like that are really intense, what I tend to do, it's like, you know, people talk to horses when they're grooming them so they don't get scared. I talk to myself, and as I kind of soothingly say each step to myself, it keeps me really present and focused on the task instead of thinking about the situation as a whole, which is really big and overwhelming. It sort of breaks down each piece. And there's something about, I guess it's like a self-soothing thing, saying these things aloud to myself in a very calm voice. The saying it calms me down, and hearing myself say it to myself calms me down. It's something it started to come naturally to me when I very first set off on this trip, and it's something that I do every time I'm in a situation like that. I think there's a lot of stigma in our society about, you know, talking to yourself makes you crazy or means you're crazy. I think talking to yourself in the sense of I was like, oh, hey there, Holly, looking good today. Like, okay, that is kind of crazy. But I think just saying things out loud that you have to do next. You're not really talking to yourself, you're just vocalizing what you're doing to break it down and make it more manageable. So for all of you, talk to yourselves. I am officially acquitting you of any charges of insanity. So I had about 4 hours of cloud, and now the clouds have gone away and there's sun. Waves are still probably, I'd say, 2.5 meters like predicted, but the period is starting to get longer, which is really nice. When I first left, they were short and breaking and I was taking waves in the cockpit, and now they're more of that classic long rolling ocean swell, so 2.5 meters doesn't seem like such a big deal, which is really nice. When I used to work in the Antarctic, I spent 2 months down in 24-hour sunlight, and when I finally flew flew back, we were flying through New Zealand on that station that was in McMurdo. I remember it wasn't the darkness that got me, but it was seeing the lights in the darkness that really hit this pang of some like deep sentimental memories. And right now, because it's been so cloudy for so long, it's not so much the blue sky and the actual sun that's getting me as the shapes of the clouds, like the little wispy, scuddy ones that are individuals with different shapes. That is really getting me. And look, there's blue sky in the background behind my head. I feel like this, man. Salty hair. Well, that was a nice hour of blue sky. We're back to clouds, stormy, gray, thick. I don't really have a lot more to say. Cloudy again. Still going fast, still doing well. Wind vane is holding. Haven't had to touch the sails since I pulled out the head sail and flipped it over to the wing-on-wing portion. My passages really are affected by clouds or sun, and what I do on passage really changes. Like when it's sunny, I'm outside, I'm loving life, I'm happy, I'm listening to music, I'm reading my book. When it's cloudy, I usually go down below and I tend more to listen to a podcast or watch a movie or a show because I just kind of want to escape. Got a fish! You're a big one! I'm gonna let it go though. Oh, that's a huge flying fish. Sorry, buddy. It's like the size of my hand. Hilarious. First morning, last morning at sea. I slept really well last night. I started out with 40-minute naps and then I changed over to hour and 20-minute naps because it felt like the wind was dropping a bit. But I don't want to increase my speed because I'm already going to arrive in the wee hours of the morning. I just remembered the flying fish last night. I was in the middle of a sleep when I heard it slap onto the deck. And all I thought was, grab the GoPro, grab the headlamp. Man, that's funny. I think seeing the GoPro jogged that memory out of my head. Otherwise, I might have never remembered it. I just had 2 different species of local Vanuatu banana for breakfast, each from different bays. These ones they turn yellow when they're ripe, and these ones are ripe when they're green, which took me ages to find out because I was like, why are my bananas not ripening? It's been a week. And then I tried one and realized that they're so delicious. These are definitely my favorite. Now I'm reading a book about great white sharks and listening to some music, drinking some tea, and today's just gonna be a really chill day. I'm still sailing at quite a clip. I think I'm probably averaging 5 knots, but if I wanted to be faster, I could put up more sail, but I'm not, and so then that makes me just feel really good because I don't really feel like I have to pay that much attention to what's happening outside. There are some doozies of waves though that are just knocking Gek right over on her little rail, and then the wind vane rounds way up, and then the next one crashes over the side of the boat, and everything goes flying down below. But other than that, it's pretty much been really mellow. And hark! The patch of blue sky. So this is the island that I'm going to in the Solomons, Lata. It's the furthest south. These are the Solomon Islands here, and then Lata is kind of this little offshoot. And there is this tiny pass that you can get through. It shaves off 10 nautical miles. It looks like it gets pretty narrow. And I'm not sure about the current, so if I'm arriving at night, I'm not gonna go for this because with these passes, it's really important to be able to read the current on the water and see what's going on. And it just seems like a silly risk to make at night. So instead, because I think I am gonna arrive at night, I'm gonna have to go up and around and then down again. And then James on Uhuru was talking to the customs guys, and they said that this is the anchorage to go for, which makes sense because it's 8 meters here, whereas this one which is what I thought we had to anchor, and I was kind of bumming, is 45 meters until it's 5 meters, which means that this is reef and there's probably a wall. And so I was kind of wondering how that was going to happen. There's a 16-meter shoal, which I was like, maybe I could anchor there, but that's still really deep for me. So that's kind of the plan. Probably stay there. I'll arrive tomorrow morning, have a full day there, spend the night, and then potentially, because Uhuru got there today, so they're not going to want to stick around for too long, leave the next day, which is just going to be it's going to be like a week of not sleeping for me. And we're going to sail up to 300 miles over here to this very cool looking reefy area. I'm prepared for us only staying for me only being able to stay one night over here. But it's nice to travel with a group because the Solomons can be sketchy if you're on your own, so I'm motivated to keep up with, the big boats that sail twice as fast as me, even if it means not really getting rest for a week. I think that's land over there. I should be able to see it because it's only 15 miles away. But it's really cloudy, but I think you can kind of see the line of where the clouds stop, and that's land. Unfortunately, even though land's 15 miles away, the anchorage is still 45 miles away, which means I'm going to get in at around, if I averaged 5 knots the whole way, it would be midnight, but I think once I get into the lee of the land, I'm going to start going a lot slower, so it'll probably be more like 1 or 2 in the morning, which means not a lot of sleep for me tonight and a full day tomorrow, but so it goes. Land ho! I'm only 10 miles from shore, but 30 miles from the anchorage. It's cool to see land. It's very flat. I'm used to the pointier mountains of Vanuatu, but I'm sure there are pointy Solomon Islands too. It's just the first one that I've found. Ooh, there's a rainbow. I didn't realize how tired I was until I tried sending a voice message to my mom. Obviously it won't send out here at sea, but it will automatically send on WhatsApp whenever my phone connects to the internet. It was like herding cats inside of my brain. It wasn't working. I just got in and dropped anchor, and this anchorage, I'm gonna have to film it during the day. By night it was so intense. I'm anchored probably swinging about a couple hundred feet from shore, but it's so deep in here. I'm still in 35 feet of water, even when I stretch the chain all the way out with my boat, backing all the way towards shore. There's not a lot of wind here, so I started backing, and instantly Gek just pointed her little bum directly towards the shore that I was anchored so close to. And I was watching the depth, and I had the spotlight in the water, and I was like, you know what, if I hit something, it's gonna be with my rudder, and that would really suck. But luckily I didn't, and then I just waited, and this little puffs of wind kind of pushed me into the right position. I just spent the past 3 hours motoring to get in because the wind totally died. I'm in the lee of this island here. And so I'm having a little nightcap, and then I'm going to try to force myself to sleep because at this point it looks like I'm going to get about 5 hours if I'm lucky before I have to clear customs tomorrow and be a functional human being. Alright, I'm getting ready to go into customs to clear in. Startling. Uhuru is here, and customs is about a 2.5 mile dinghy ride away from here, so they're going into town to check it out, and they're going to give me a ride. So I'm getting everything ready I need to clear in, which basically I have everything in this one folder. That makes it really easy. So in here I have my passports and all of my, any document that they give me when I clear out of one country or clear into the next one goes in this folder, so that I have everything in one place, and I know all I need to do is grab the blue folder. And then once I'm one country removed, after I left Vanuatu, I got rid of all my New Zealand paperwork, and I have a sort of an overflow folder so that all that's in this one is the relevant documentation. I don't have any money cash for the Solomons, but apparently you can pay in the bigger city where there's an ATM. So Lata is one of several official ports of entry into the Solomon Islands. It's the most convenient for sailors who are leaving Vanuatu because it's the furthest south and east, which means that you can sail downwind up the entire Solomon Island chain. However, it's not convenient because there's no ATM on shore, so there's no way to get out cash to pay any fees, which means that you have to arrange with the customs officials to pay those fees in the next largest town, which is either Honiara or Gizo, which are both further north and west. And also it doesn't have biosecurity, which you're supposed to clear when you come in, so you have to do a little bit more arranging with the customs officials before you arrive. But to me it's worth it because it just means seeing a little bit more of the Solomons without having to fight against the wind. In fact, I didn't have any cash on hand basically the entire month that I was in the Solomons, so everything that I did was through trading, which I had been prepared for before I left New Zealand, so I had a bunch of things to trade with the locals, but it was kind of cool to experience an entire country without cash. Although Lata is the capital of one of the provinces of the Solomons, it's a pretty small village with a population of less than 600. And because it's so far away from all the other islands, it didn't have really any significant involvement in World War II or in the Civil War in the early 2000s. So it's just kind of a little remote, chilled out place. Really nice first stop for clearing in. I want to talk about the clearing in process to Lata. So I emailed them 3 days before my arrival, which was their requirement, at least 3, and told them that I was coming in on my boat, filled out some forms, and then got to the anchorage and dinghied across with Uhuru to go clear customs, immigration, and health. So basically I was just filling out more forms showing my passport, showing the paper clearing me out from the previous country. They never asked to see my boat documentation, which was interesting because usually they do ask for that. And then the customs guy told me that he was gonna come inspect my boat, and Uhuru told me that he came onto their boat and went over everything with a fine-toothed comb, like checked, and not in a thorough way. Like in New Zealand they ask where your food lockers are and then they go through them really efficiently to make sure you don't have food you're not supposed to have. And they don't check anywhere else. They ask to see the anchor chain locker, but that's it. They take your word for it that what you have is what you have. This guy was clearly rummaging through their lockers and their drawers trying to find something, and he searched until he found that they had declared, like accidentally forgotten to declare 3 cans of beer or something that were like tucked into some locker they hadn't thought about. And this was exactly what he was looking for, and he was like, you're not allowed to have these cans of beer. So they said, well, just take them from us then. Like, we don't need to have these cans of beer. Usually when you clear into a country, they take stuff from you. They're like, all right, we're taking your apples and your potatoes and all of your freshies, and you're like, cool, okay. So there is kind of this grace period. Anyway, so he said no, he didn't want the 3 cans of beer. He wanted instead 2 bottles of wine. And they were like, well, we declared all the wine we have, and as you can see, it's the amount we said it was. And he insisted and started threatening them. So they were like, all right, take the 2 bottles of wine. So then I knew he was coming over to my boat, and I was prepared for him to just search everything. And I was like, shit, there's probably something that I forgot to declare, like some little bottle of beer tucked away somewhere. I don't know, you start to get worried about that stuff. So you can't see the anchorage from town. It's about a 2-mile dinghy ride. So this guy hires a local boat to come out to my boat so that he can inspect it. So the first thing he said when he came on board was, oh, I thought your boat was big like the other one. He was so disappointed because it turns out he didn't even have to come out to inspect the boats, I don't think, unless technically in his job description he's supposed to. But all he did was stand there while I filled out a card, and then he left. I know that, you know, I'm starting to enter the part of the world where there's corrupt officials, because people have all sorts of stories, especially starting in Indonesia, about officials trying to get bribes and withholding paperwork and intentionally trying to mess you up so that then they can charge you usually a cash bribe. So I didn't realize it had already started, but this was a good wake-up call. And yeah, I mean, no harm done, right? And I thought it was kind of funny, but he clearly did not. So I have an idea for a fun project that I want to do, and I have this chart table that I've honestly probably used 3 times in the 5 years that I've owned my boat. So what I want to do is take it off the wall and then install a row of hooks on the wall to use it for stuff like hanging lines. This may be controversial, but I think chart tables are a bit outdated. Most people don't use paper charts anymore. I used to do them at sea just for the fun of it so I could see my course plodding along, but it's so hard to even find them and they're so expensive that, to be honest, ever since I left French Polynesia, I haven't even had paper charts on board. And it's also going to leave me with screws and a lot of good wood that I can use for other stuff. Like I want to build a little cooking oil rack in the galley for the things that I use a lot, like olive oil and vegetable oil and salts, that they're really easy to access, and I think the wood from this will be perfect for that. So I've split everything from this chart table into 2 categories. One, things that I'm going to throw out, and the other is there's a vocational school here, which is wild because it feels like it's the middle of nowhere, but the backs of the charts are blank, and I thought I might bring them to the vocational school to see if they want to use the blank side for, I don't know, they could make it into scrap paper for taking notes or drawing diagrams, I don't know, but it's a lot of big, really good quality paper that I don't want to throw out, and I think they probably would be able to use, so I'm really excited to go over and give it to them. Alright, I've spent about 30 hours in this anchorage, first anchorage in the Solomons, and I'm getting ready to get underway and sail 300 miles to the next spot where I'm going to be, which is this really cool group of reefy islands, kind of like the Mescalines where Dan and I spent time kiting, but way more reef, way better beaches. It should be a really good sail. I'm excited. It's going to be mostly sunny, light wind, so I'm going to have full sail, light waves. Honestly, I think it's going to be the nicest sail I've had in over a year. This week's video. I put out new videos on YouTube every 2 weeks, and for my patrons you guys get a snack on the weeks that I don't put out a full-length YouTube video. The snacks for patrons are things that they request, specific videos they want to see about how I do stuff, real life updates because these videos lag a bit behind real time, and just anything else fun and exciting that I feel like sharing. So thank you patrons. If you'd like to become a patron, my Patreon is patreon.com/WinHippie. For one-time donations, I have a PayPal, paypal.me/WinHippie. And if you're wondering what to get people for the holiday season, I have merchandise, WinHippie stuff. It's pretty cool. All in the description below. Thank you, Tish, for reminding me when I need to do an edit and helping me get them up and scheduled. And thank you guys for your amazing comments. Keep me going, keep me happy, always super nice, and I'll see you guys next week, patrons, with a little snack, and YouTube, I will see you in 2 weeks with another full-length episode of my cruising further up into the Solomons. Next stop, Guadalcanal, which as we know has a big history with World War II stuff. Okay, peace out.